Hello everyone, welcome to my commentary for my Japanese hard mode, no death clear of Wanted Dead. This is a single segment run, as in I sat down from the beginning of the game and played all the way through to the end without dying a single time. An accomplishment I am quite proud of, and actually one of the more difficult clears and accomplishments I've done on this channel. I probably grinded away at this around 70 hours or so. It's hard to tell because I was playing originally on the PS4. Then I was playing on the PC, then I'm playing on the PS5, so I'm playing the game in all these different ways and versions, so it's hard to exactly keep track of my playtime, but I would estimate around 70 hours. And actually, when I finally did end up getting the clear, it was sort of bittersweet, because I finally did it, and it was a relief, but it was also like, oh, now I've kind of run out of excuses to play Wanted Dead all day instead of playing other games I'm supposed to be playing on the channel. So, yeah, bittersweet in that now it's going to be hard for me to come up with more reasons to play Wanted Dead, like in these big grind sessions like I was before, because I don't plan to speedrun it or anything, and I don't think getting a normal Japanese hard mode clear would be all that interesting. This is on New Game Plus, for those who don't pick up on that. Just because I don't think it's really that much harder to do it on regular without New Game Plus. It's just more slow and tedious because you can't use all the fun tools and weapons and stuff in the early stages, but they're still not that challenging comparatively. So I think it's just kind of the best and most true way to play the game, in my opinion, is Japanese hard mode, New Game Plus. I think that's just the game at its best, so that's the version I recommend playing. So I don't think I'll ever go for like a normal Japanese hard mode, no death clear. I just don't think that's all that interesting. So let's talk a bit about Wanted Dead, because so far I would choose this as my favorite game to come out this year. And I know that's pure madness and blasphemy. And I am looking forward to when I do my end of year, best games of 2023. And it is quite likely that my favorite top pick will be Wanted Dead, over stuff like Resident Evil 4 Remake, Bayonetta 3, Final Fantasy 16. I know that's going to really rile up the internet, but my love for this game is genuine. I cannot help the way I feel. Despite the game's flaws, I just really love the things that it does right. It's like that girl in high school with piercings and tattoos and daddy issues where you're not supposed to love her, you're not supposed to be as invested in her as you are, but you can't help yourself. There's just something about her that calls you to her. It's kind of like that. That's sort of my relationship with Wanted Dead, where I can't fully justify my love to this game to everyone else, and I can't fully say that most other people will like the game as much as I like the game. But one of my goals of this commentary is not only to explain to you like the strategy and tactics of the game, but also to explain the appeals of the game that probably aren't totally apparent at first glance. And I know a lot of the reviews and stuff didn't give the game a fair chance, but even outside of that, they also probably weren't all that interested in looking into features and unique aspects of the game that probably aren't all that palatable to mainstream people anyway. For example, I think when Wanted Dead was initially sort of marketed and people are talking about the game, the kind of tagline, the kind of tag idea is that it's Ninja Gaiden with an assault rifle, with guns, right? It's Ninja Gaiden with guns. That was the idea, and I think that was the expectation a lot of people had coming into it. Myself included a little bit when I first started playing. But this is not Ninja Gaiden with guns at all. It has some vague Ninja Gaiden mechanics and stuff, but for the most part, no. I wouldn't even honestly categorize this in the character action genre fully. It's not. It can't be lumped in with stuff like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry or anything like that, because it's doing something quite a bit different. In fact, I would say the best way to describe this game would be it's a three-dimensional Metal Slug, or it's like a three-dimensional run and gun, more so than a character action game. Yes, it has melee combat. Metal Slug has melee combat though, but the way the game is actually designed and the way you play it is much more arcade-like than even a character action game. For example, there's going to be, especially in the upcoming stages, a lot of hard routing you have to do, especially in Japanese hard mode, where the game has a lot of nasty like death traps and death setups, and you can just instantly die at any second in the game. So it even has that sort of run and gun feel to it too, because, you know, one hit Metal Slug, you're dead. In this game, it's not necessarily because you do have a health bar, but a lot of the big attacks just one-shot you and kill you. So it has that sort of run and gun brutal punishment to hits and stuff too, which I really enjoy. So I recommend, once you get the hang of the game on the normal mode, definitely play it on Japanese hard mode, because that's the most fun. Not only because of the higher damage and stuff like that, but also because the enemies are more aggressive, and I think that really adds to the pace of the game a lot. So speaking of pace, I want to explain one thing real quick. So you'll notice the gameplay footage here is slightly faster than how the game actually runs. So this would be like 75 FPS. And the reason for that is because, just to compress down this commentary and make it a little bit more YouTube friendly, because I get the feeling this video will not be that popular YouTube wise, I sped up the footage a little bit just to 1.25. And then also in this run, I'm going to remove out loading screens and hub world sections and mini games and just go from stage to stage. Again, this is done purely for viewability. This is not because the game is different runs spliced together or anything like that. This is not segmented. This is a single segment playthrough, start to finish. And I did actually stream it unlisted. So if you want to see the pure, uncut, original footage of the run, unblemished by the hands of an editor, I will link that in the video description so you can see. It's just going to be slightly, you know, slower, and you're going to see the mini games and me running around the headquarters a little bit. But other than that, they're exactly the same. So let's talk a little bit about stage 1. Stage 1 is such an interesting stage because unlike a lot of other modern games, let's say, modern games, like for example, even something like Gungrave Gore, which I enjoyed, it still had some modern design elements to it. For example, the way they did the stages, where they're very sort of iterative, slowly ramping up, slowly introducing mechanics and stuff like that. Wanted Dead isn't like that at all. Again, it's much more arcade-like in that each stage is distinctive from each other and has distinctive sections and stuff. And that's also like what makes the game so replayable, is because each stage is like the perfect length. I think stage 5 could be reduced just a tiny bit. A few sections could be cut out of stage 5. Not too many, but just a few. But overall, the game just has this fantastic pace, and it's also really fun to replay because each stage is distinctive. So it's not you're doing the same thing in stage 1, and then in stage 2, and then stage 3, and then stage 4, and then stage 5. You know, each stage has its own distinctive feel and design, enemy layouts and enemy like types and all that sort of stuff mixed together in all these cool ways. Reminds me again more of something like a Metal Slug or like a Final Fight. I guess maybe a good idea is like you take Final Fight and Metal Slug and you shove them together. Alien versus Predator, basically. That's kind of this game. I think that would be kind of the closest equivalent. So let's talk about the guns, and let's talk about stage 1, because I don't want to lose track of this topic. So in stage 1, I feel like this stage is where most of the reviews of the game were formulated and decided, because it has some unique aspects to it that are criticized in reviews, but I feel like that criticism only really applies to stage 1 and not the other stages of the game. For example, the guns. So a lot of the reviews I was seeing, people were saying, okay, the guns of Wanted Dead are useless, the guns in Wanted Dead suck or are underpowered, and you might as well not even use them. That's because stage 1 features a specific gun called the Hyena. And the Hyena absolutely sucks. It is like almost a troll weapon. I would be not at all shocked if the developer said, yeah, we made Hyena to troll players, because it is so underpowered and crappy, and clearly so, that I feel like it was intentionally made to be really shitty. But what's cool is that if you know the gun meta of the game, and you know that, like, so there's this enemy really early on in the kind of conference room opening section who has a shotgun, and the shotgun only has 3 bullets. So when you're first playing the game, you pick up the shotgun and you say, oh, it only has 3 bullets, this blows, at least let's do the assault rifle because it's easier to find ammo. Well, it turns out if you just hang on to the shotgun, then you're going to get a full reload when you get to the next checkpoint. And from that point, the shotgun is just such a better weapon than the Hyena. Like, it's just funny because stage 1 features like one of the worst guns. No, absolutely the worst gun in the game, the hyena. And also like one of the best guns in the game, the shotgun. So you just need to make sure in your routing, pick up the shotgun, hold on to the shotgun, use the shotgun, my friend. And the shotgun's also really good against the enemy types of this game, like these knife guys. And I'm going to explain why. So I want to talk a little bit about the gun mechanics of Wanted Dead because they are very unique. There is no other game like it in terms of gun mechanics that I've ever come across. And the reason for that is it is not as simple as it being a third person and you also run around with a sword. The gun meta of the game is actually a lot more linked into your melee combat than you would think. And the reason for that is because when I first started playing the game, one of my big critiques, my initial impressions was, alright, it needs some kind of throw or something, because what often happens is you start attacking enemies with your sword, they go into block stun, and they're just blocking, and you can't really do much about it, it seems like at first. Like, okay, they're sitting here, they're blocking my sword swings, and they're going to continue to block my sword swings until they counterattack, and then I parry their counterattack, and it creates this kind of lame, linear, prescriptive, you know, block, 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 then they counterattack, then you parry the counterattack. But the thing, like, kind of like a Sifu type thing, but the thing about this game that's combat that's really cool is that Stone has a lot of options. While it feels like at first your most obvious option is to just wait and parry, that's not even the optimal way to do it, I wouldn't say, because what you can do is a number of things. First of all, if they're in blocks, then you actually can like dash behind them and attack them from the back because their back won't be covered. So there's that simple workaround. Another thing you can do though that makes that I think is the secret sauce to the combat, and you'll see me doing here, is once they're in block stun, you can guard cancel, and I'll talk about guard canceling more in depth in a minute here. You can guard cancel into the gun, and so then you can start mixing in your gun play, and I'm quite sure that the way the gun mechanics work in the game is that the closer you are, like the more damage the guns do. So if you are like across the map from a guy, it takes quite a few hits to damage him and kill him. But if you're like right up next to him, you can obliterate them with like half a clip. And with the shotgun, just a few shots. So the shotgun is particularly useful in this meta, and it's really prevalent in stage 1, which is you attack them, you get them into block stun, then you roll back, guard cancel into shotgun, and you just shotgun them in the head while they're still guarding. And so it can effectively work as sort of like an alternative to throw, because yeah, sure, they can block your sword, but they can't block your bullets. They're not Neo from the Matrix or Agent Smith. Great routing on the chainsaw there. Let me talk really quickly about this section. So the way to do this section is you come in with the shotgun and you fight all the dudes straight up with the shotgun, because while it's tempting to fight them with the chainsaw, and the game clearly wants you to do that, in Japanese hard mode, the chainsaw is typically more of a liability than an asset, because it has some startup on the attack, and you can get attacked during the startup. And then also, you can get kind of flanked by enemies, because enemies are more aggressive. And so, yeah, you start the the chainsaw attack to get one guy, but then the guy next to him just stabs you and takes half a bar. And so it's quite dangerous to use the chainsaw against multiple enemies in this game. And you can get clipped in all these weird ways. Its startup is slow, its movement is slow. So what I tend to do with the chainsaw is I usually tend to route them for larger enemies. So I take out the swarms of enemies with my regular straight up combat. And then when the larger enemies spawn, then I pull out the chainsaw and cut them in half like I did with the ninja. And that's, I think, really effective. So now we're getting into the back half of stage 1. Stage 1 is interesting because the way the level is laid out, it feels like the developers are kind of trying to teach you the gun meta of the game, because your initial instinct is to play this game like Gears of War or like a 2000s era FPS where you take cover, like a cover shooter, and you go for headshots and that kind of thing. And that like works, but then you run out of ammo. And then you're like, whoa, okay, now what do I do? So the thing about this game is that clearly Stone is also made for some really impressive rushdown. for a number of reasons. One, she has the pistol, which can be a nice mid-range attack to stun people and prevent them from shooting you as you're approaching. So that's really good. But also on top of the pistol, her movement speed in this game is insane. She is incredibly fast movement speed, much faster than Dante or Ryu from Ninja Gaiden. She just has great movement speed, and that really, I think, gives the game some fantastic feel for a number of reasons. One, like I said, it prevents the game from feeling really stale in terms of the combat, because you can just move around and approach enemies and engage with them without having to resort to just blocking all the time and parrying all the time. Like, you don't really block and parry in this game nearly as much as you would think once you get really the feel for it, because you don't need to as much, because you can maneuver around your enemies. And speaking of maneuvering around your enemies, let's talk about this boss fight, because when you first play on Japanese hard mode, this is one of the hardest boss fights of the game. And the reason for that is you can just get one shot by all these different sources, and you do need to actually sort of route out what you're going to do. So I'm going to teach you the routing here. So you first start off, you run across just like that. From the distance, take the guys with the grenades out, because if you get too close, they can one-shot you. And then once you pick up 2 grenade launchers, you fire at this guy until you have 1 left in the clip, like that. But don't finish the final shot, because once you do that, it activates the end of phase 1 and goes into phase 2. And we're not ready for that yet. We want to get 1 more pickup of grenades. So now reload, pick up grenade. Okay, shoot him once. Now we're going into phase 2. Now the thing about phase 2, why it's scary, and why I recommend picking up the grenades in phase 1, is because more grenade launcher guys spawn, which is good for ammo, but it's bad because they are incredibly dangerous. They can one-shot you from like across the screen. And so trying to deal with them and pick up ammo and stuff is highly, highly risky. And then also, while you're trying to do that and avoid them, the tank will like run you over and stuff. So the way to handle this is to build up your stockpile of grenades in phase 1. And then in phase 2, you go into that back corner there and you just fight it from that back corner, because there's no grenade guys in that back corner. So that's the strat. It's really consistent. It's really good. Pretty fast too. So here we come into stage 2. Of the stages, this is my least favorite stage of the game for 2 reasons. One, I feel like the construction guys are a little bit on the tanky side in terms of HP. And I know the melee combat really well, and I can put out some damage pretty fast. But they just feel slightly too tanky. Not massively so, but slightly too tanky, where it gets to be a little like you're hitting a bag of meat at times. So that's one reason why I'm not a huge fan of stage 2. But the other reason why I'm not a huge fan is because it is hella, I'm trying to think of the right adjective here. Chaotic. That's the word. It's extremely chaotic. And the reason for it is what you see right here. Fire grenades. So I got taken down. That's not a death though. That's a down because your teammates revive you. If I get downed one more time though, then it is a death and I get a game over screen. And depending on the stages, you either get downs or you don't. For the first 2 stages, you'd get 1 down per checkpoint. I think that's the only down I use in this stage playthrough, but the reason why it's troll and obnoxious is that grenade that you saw there. These guys will throw these fire grenades, and these fire grenades can just own you for a number of reasons. Because let's say they throw the fire grenade, but you're invulnerable. Like, let's say you're in the middle of a combo and you're doing the finisher of the combo, and then they throw a fire grenade at you. So you're invulnerable, so on paper that should be fine, right? Like with regular grenades, sure, it blows up, but you're invulnerable. What's the issue? Well, fire grenades are extremely active, and they hang around so that even though you're invulnerable when the fire grenade hits you, you're still stuck inside its flames, and then your invulnerability ends, and then you get damaged. And then while you're doing the damage reel animation, you're going to get swarmed and hit over the head with a hammer. So even though damage-wise the fire grenades don't technically kill you, they can kill you in all these really ugly scenarios just by overcoming invulnerability and then having dudes attack you while you're in a stun. So That makes the stage kind of scary. It makes it fun because you always have to be on your toes and you're always listening for when your teammates yell, "Grenade!" And when they yell, "Grenade!" you just watch and be prepared to roll. Be prepared to roll right out of that grenade attack. So this section here, like I was saying, wow, I didn't roll there. This section here, like I was saying before, that was close. This section here, like I was saying before, is one where it gives you a chainsaw, but don't do it, kids. Do not use a chainsaw in this section because one, you're gonna get nailed by grenades, and like I said, invul doesn't matter. And the second reason why is because even if you decide to attack and you get a good amount of people with the chainsaw, you do end up taking a lot of damage in the process because the chainsaw's activation has a bit of a startup to it. And I talked about this before actually, so I won't repeat myself, but for that reason, yeah, you're gonna get hammered as you're trying to chainsaw one guy, so don't do it. You'll notice here that when I'm approaching people, I'll often approach people and shoot them with the pistol. The reason for that is if they are crouching, like that guy right here. So if they are crouching or could potentially crouch, a run-up dash attack is not the best option because you can sometimes just whiff it over their head, like they're ducking your high, and so you don't want that. And then secondly, sometimes the enemies will move around, so even if they're standing and you go for like the running dash attack, which is good, and you do use it from time to time, but with certain enemies that are more evasive, it's just best to lock them in with the pistol, which, you know, will track them and stuff. Because sometimes they'll actually like run away from your dash attack and stuff. Okay, that shot there was key. That's the first, well, one of the first death traps of the game, where when you play through it the first time, you're just gonna die there because that guy is like hiding behind a dumpster or some crap. He's like really hidden, and he from a very far distance will just one-shot you with a grenade. So what you have to do is you have to know he's there. Then you have to run straight at him and be prepared to fire off your pistol the second you see the grenade flash. And you get the invulnerability as you saw there. So that's how you deal with that section. But here we go. That was a down. I just got janked out by grenade launcher. And the thing about it is because I'm routing this game so heavily, a lot of these sections feel, when you look back at them, like, oh yeah, that's consistent. That makes sense. That's because I've routed them, where if you go into them blind, oh dear God, it's just a pure bloodbath. Especially this section here because it has a lot of dudes with grenade launchers, and they'll one-shot you with a grenade launcher. But that's not even the worst part of it. The worst part of it is that the area is covered in explosive barrels, and so even if they shoot at you and miss you, if they hit an explosive barrel next to you, it'll kill you. And then, on top of that, if you're trying to fight them, but you don't have a lot of ammo saved up in your primary rifle, and that's part of the routing of the level, is actually saving up the ammo in your primary rifle for that fountain area, then you have to try to take them on with a grenade launcher. And the thing about the grenade launcher in this game is that it's very powerful, but it's also extremely dangerous because it can clip on things and blow up in your face, or your teammate will run in front of you as you fire it off, and it'll blow up as he runs in front of you and kills you. So the grenade launcher in the game is fun, it's really useful, but it's terrifying at the same time. It's always a relief when I'm done using it because just so much can go wrong and you can kill yourself and end the run. I've done it many times. I'll be deep into stage 5 or stage 4 or something, pull out the grenade launcher, accidentally clip a piece of the scenery in front of me and die. That's the end of the run. Or a teammate runs in front of me, that sucks too. So there's a guy back here. He's just waiting, praying for me to walk by there so he can hit me with a fire grenade. So you want to snipe him from the distance there with a grenade, get him to at least off his preparedness to hit you with a fire grenade, because the fire grenade in the maze is really scary. There we go. He's delimbed, and then I just jammed a sword into his neck. Yikes. Let's talk about the finishing moves of the game, because they're pretty interesting. Where, for the most part, they seem to function pretty well, but from time to time, I'm sure people have commented on this plenty. From time to time, you'll go to do the animation and like it doesn't fully line up with stone, where like they'll end up just kind of frozen, or they'll end up not responding to the attack. And so you're like grabbing air and you're throwing air. So yeah, sometimes they won't line up fully, which is ugly and something that could be patched and improved. But other than that, you know, the finishing moves do function really well. And I do like how much invulnerability they give. It actually can be really useful at times, like if someone's going to shoot you with a grenade launcher, you just go for a D-limb kill or glory kill or whatever you want to call it, and get the invul to survive the grenade attack. My general advice for dealing with this area is try to target the guys with the machine guns first, because they're the ones who will do the wild grenade throws on you. And the grenade throws are more dangerous and scary than the guys coming at you with the hammers. The thing about the guys with the hammers, though, is you need to kind of have a game plan in mind, because I believe if you keep holding guard, they might be able to guard break you. But, so you either need to know the parry timings, or just roll away and kind of outflank them with your movement. But, standing there and guarding, I believe they might be able to break your guard. And if they hit you, oh, and if they're in the middle of their swing string, and you try to interrupt with like an attack, they'll just tank it and swing right through you, so beware of that as well. Okay, this section here, another death trap. There's a dude, you can't even see him. There he is. There's a dude down at the bottom of the stairs there. He's hiding behind a dumpster with a grenade launcher, so he'll one-shot you the first time you play, because you don't know he's there, right? He's very sneaky. So you walk down here, boom, grenade hits you right there, you're dead. So there's all kinds of stuff like that through the run, and part of the run, what makes the no death run so hard in this game, is because there's all these sort of like little sneaky death traps waiting to get you, and if you don't remember them, yeah, run over, goodbye. Then there's also just tons of wild jank crap that can happen, or I don't know if jank is exactly the right word. I'd say more like chaotic, unpredictable, but in a good way, in a fun way. It's not so wild and chaotic where it's like, oh, this is unfair. It's like Garega, you know, it's just enough RNG and weirdness to keep you on your toes, but it still rewards a lot of really precise routing and memorization. So I think the game really strikes a nice balance there. And again, it just adds to the arcade feel. So you saw coming into this section here, I blew those explosive barrels there. The reason why you do that is because sometimes enemies will throw grenades, or stray shots will hit those barrels, and if you're standing next to the fence when they go off, you die. So I just recommend blowing them up yourself. Get yourself prepped. Also, remember this section here, why I chose this section to stand in and fight in, and why I think it's a good choice, is because it has that fence there that actually protects it from grenade attacks really well. Because this area, if you're just out in the open, is really scary, because you're going to get hit in the back of the head with a grenade, then you're going to get stunned, and then you're going to get shot or attacked with a pickaxe, just like this. There you go. So that's why fighting people from that area, at least initially, trying to cut down on all the grenade guys, that's really good. Sorry, I had to adjust my headphones there. Nice and easy is the name of the game. I hate going up the stairs because the stairs are full of explosives. And so you can accidentally get killed a lot, because maybe as you're coming up the stairs, the guy will throw a grenade down there and then blow up the barrels and kill you. So I normally don't go up those stairs like that. I try to fight them from outside. But from time to time, if I'm in a hurry, I'll go up the stairs and just try and take them out. Alright, so this opening section here is probably scarier than the actual boss fight, because the reason why is he's going to rain down on you with a grenade launcher. If that grenade hits you dead on, it's over. That's a game over reset, because you don't get a down in boss fights. You have to fight them, you know, without getting incapacitated. And by damn, this guy's grenade shots are really chaotic and sporadic. But you notice I'm like hanging around the dumpster here. The reason for that is because at the angle he's standing, you can kind of see it. At the angle he's standing, there's a fence kind of in front of him. And so if you go stand over by the dumpster, it's harder for him to get his shots over there, because the fence will clip them. Now, it's not guaranteed that they won't get over there, but it's just harder. Another bit of routing for this level that I forgot to mention is that it's tempting to pick up other gun types, but what you want to do is, remember all the way back in the fountain area, you want to pick up the grenade launcher and just carry the grenade launcher through the area, through the level, so that when you get to this opening section with the boss fight, you have the grenade launcher ready to go to use on those construction worker guys. Because fighting them without it is quite scary, because remember, as you're trying to fight them, there's grenades being launched at you. So it's pretty risky. So I think having the grenade launcher on them is the way to go, even though it doesn't really affect the boss. It doesn't hurt him or anything, I don't think. So what's funny is that as we go through this run, a lot of my initial early strats of boss fights have been changed. This one has not. It's still the same one because it's still just surprisingly effective, because the way it works is what he wants to do is he wants to do that barrier thing, knock you back, and then he wants to attack you from a distance with either his gun in phase 1 or like weird crazy knees and mix up in phase 2. But the thing about just canceling the first strike over and over again like this, why this is good is because that first strike has really good tracking, and so even though he jumps back, usually are able to catch him and follow up with his evasive movements, because the single opening strike is so good at tracking enemies, whereas like the follow-up slices are not. So yeah, just rinse and repeat that single sword strike, kind of learn some of the parries, and then when he does the barrier, just roll. Those are really good ways to get this to work. So, stage 3, let's talk about it. This is one of my favorite stages of the game. I would say my order of favorite stages go stage 4, then stage 3, then stage 5, then stage 1, and then stage 2. I talked about how stage 2 is my least favorite. But the scary thing about stage 3 is, to begin with, you don't have a revive or a down. So if you get your full knockdown, death, you know, that's it, game over, run over. You know, there's no coming back from that. Whereas in the previous 2 stages, you do have that. The second part of the stage that's really scary is the way the enemies deal damage in this level, especially on Japanese hard mode, which is just all at once. So basically, like these baton guys here, if they catch you in a swing, they can take like half a bar before you even know it. It's crazy how much damage they do. Now, it's fun because we went from stage 2, which has like really tanky enemies, to stage 3, which has a lot more weaker enemies in terms of health. They have less stamina, but there's a lot more of them. So it has a nice sort of like shmup running gun feel to it, because you just blow through all these low health, high damage enemies. It's really nice feeling, and I think it really adds to the feel of stage 3. I also like the way the stage looks a lot. It's one of my favorite looking stages. Now, I know no one likes the graphics of this game. The game looks stupid and bad and stuff. I personally think stage 2 is probably the worst looking stage of the game. But from that point forward, stage 2 through the rest of the game, I think the graphics do improve a lot. The design improves a lot. I feel like basically the devs probably figured out what they were doing as they went, and so the game just improves in a lot of ways as it continues onward, which is kind of funny. Because remember, stage 1 is like a warehouse office space place. You know, it's not bad, but it's not exactly that eye-catching or anything. Stage 2 is like weird and janky, like park or wherever you are, a garden park thing. And then stage 3, you get the casino. Stage 4, you go back to the HQ, which is really cool. And then stage 5, you're in the streets, and the streets look great. Probably in terms of overall look, stage 3, 4, then 5, 1, and 2. Kind of like my favorites in terms of gameplay as well. And there's something really fun about like running through these halls at high speed. But getting back to the routing, so you get a shotgun here, and pretty soon we're going to get a checkpoint, and that's going to be a lot of fun into the upcoming section. One thing I really like about Wanted Dead, and it really starts to play a part, well, kind of in stage 2, but in the upcoming section here and for the rest of the game, is that, again, unlike, I guess it kind of matters in some character action games, but more so than a lot of other character action games, the actual like terrain and layout of the level matters a lot. Like the fact that you're on a staircase, the fact that there's like narrow hallways. You can use all of these to your advantage in various ways, which I'm about to do in the upcoming section here. Just watch this. So we're gonna come down the stairs. There's this guy hidden in the shadows, Splinter Cell style. He sometimes can get you. If you forget he's there, you just run past him and he cheap shots you. So here we go. Some guys were hanging back there. Take them out. A pistol to flurry is a nice little combo to use on them. I love how Hannah is covered in blood constantly throughout the game. And you notice from stage to stage she changes her shirt and pants. I'm ashamed to say that I didn't actually notice this the first few times I played the game. But yeah, because she gets covered in blood and all that, every time she has to change her clothes between the stages. So we're getting the white shirt with blue jeans, a classic look. The look that I prefer myself as well. Though I'm wearing a black shirt with no jeans, but we'll talk about that later. So here we go. This is what I was talking about, where so the game wants you to go out onto the dance floor and fight them on the dance floor. But that's a really bad idea because they can swarm you, and on Japanese hard mode, you know, the overlapping swings and all that kind of stuff. It's not all that common, but sometimes it can happen, and it's just highly dangerous. However, if you take to the staircase, you hold the high ground. You know, I have the high ground, Anakin. If you have that, it's really, really useful because you can, it's like 300. You can funnel them into just this kill zone on the stairs using your shotgun. Able to control them, prevent them from surrounding you. So got those strategic spawns. Now I gotta run down the stairs and get more to spawn. One little trick that I forgot to mention is that, so when you're reloading in the game, the reloads can kind of take a little bit of time, and especially when you're getting chased down with a guy with a baton. One thing you can do to cancel your reload is you do a dash, and then you cancel the dash with a swing, and then you guard cancel the swing. So if you're reloading and you want to like get to a block really quickly, like you're reloading and someone's about to attack you and you need to block, what you do is dash, swing, and then guard cancel, and you can get to a block. That's really important for like gunplay and stuff. Alright, so this section here goes terribly wrong for me. So what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to get the chainsaw and run up and chainsaw the Mobile Suit Gundam guy, the armor guy. The problem is right there, he threw the grenades. In literally the run before this, I died at this exact moment trying to chainsaw this guy, and then he dropped grenades, and then I got locked into the chainsaw animation, and it just ended up timing in a way that the grenades killed me. So I was like, I'm not making that mistake again. But the problem is with these SWAT guys, they're actually hella aggressive. And so like actually trying, and they also run away from you. So if you try to chase them down with a chainsaw, it's actually kind of scary because they can just run away and shoot you as you're trying to lumber after them with a chainsaw. So then I had to drop the chainsaw, right? But then the dude came up the stairs and blocked off the chainsaw. So then I got to get the chainsaw, as you see here. And I have to be very careful because it's not like Super Mario Brothers, like I said before. You're still vulnerable to attack as the chainsaw starts up. So if he runs and dash attacks you, if he gets the dash attack off before you get the chainsaw to hit him, you're dead. And then it's a game over because, remember, there's no revives either on this stage. But, so that didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go. Normally I chainsaw him on the stairs, but I managed to scrape it out, which is nice. So this guy spawns. You want to run back though, because there's two guys up in the stairs, and what you don't want is you don't want to be stuck in melee combat with this ninja guy, and then while you're fighting him, or Raiden as I like to call him, like from Ninja Gaiden, or Raiden from Metal Gear, you don't want to engage with him and have those two guys just raining down machine guns on you. So if you scoot back, you can snipe him from a distance with your gun. So here we go up the stairs. This section reminds me of like Scarface or something like that. It's really fun. Right there. So you notice I walked up and I shot him rather than running up and doing a dash attack because he was crouching. So I would have just whiffed the dash attack. So learning to build that into your muscle memory is pretty important. So this section here is like the most Gears of War section in area of the game, perhaps, because this room is just filled with dudes that have machine guns and there's trying to snipe at you. But also, because of that table, you can't necessarily just rush in and bum rush them, because by the time you get around the table, they probably have melted your health with the machine guns. So you do actually have to like use cover a little bit and peek in, you know, old third-person shooter style, to at least thin down the resistance. You don't have to kill them all, but you at least have to thin them down before you rush in. What is fun though is if you can get a grenade off, you can kind of get them stuck back in there behind the bar, and then just trap them in fire, which is really fun. So if you're really, really on point, what you can do is you can throw a firebomb right as those 3 guys are spawning, and they all spawn into the firebomb, but I was a little bit late with it. So you gotta be careful with these guys with the batons, because even though they don't look all that threatening, if they get that baton on top of you, it's gonna be a really scary part. And they're kind of sneaky, you know, so I always try to take them out as soon as they spawn, just to prevent that from happening. That reminds me of the bar from The Shining a little bit. You've always been the caretaker. Okay. So this is another great use of terrain, and I want to talk a little bit about the firebombs, because I've talked about how much of a pain they are when the enemies hit you with them, but as far as your firebombs, they're so amazing. They're so good, because what you can do is you can create like walls and areas with the firebombs, and then just unload on people with your machine gun from relative safety. Like here, what they are supposed to do is they're supposed to come through that door, and then I'm supposed to fight 2 of them at a time, and it's scary because they both have swords. But if you throw the firebomb into the doorway, they obviously can't get through it, and then they get trapped, and then you can just pick them off like fish in a barrel. It works really well, and it's going to be a key tactic in stage 5, let me tell you, and stage 4 actually. So I was playing a little bit more conservative here, a little bit more scared. I could just run in there, attack them, but I was doing a little bit of gunplay just because these guys, if they surround you, they can melt your health surprisingly quickly. It's Japanese hard mode, you know, that's the name of the game. So, good stuff there. This is a checkpoint that really used to get me a lot, because not only was that section we just fought kind of hard, but then you have to fight 2 of these guys in a row. And these are guys where you do actually need to learn the parry game a bit, because you actually can get around them using like rolls and playing it like Dark Souls or something, but it's pretty damn clunky and slow paced, and you're gonna go insane. So you do want to get the parry game under lock, so just to speed up the aggressiveness. Though what you can do also is, if you really hit him with the super attack, you can then also like unload a machine gun into his head, and that does a ton of damage. I'm doing single slices because I'm playing extra careful. Usually I would do full combos, but when I'm doing single slices like this, that means I'm serious mode. I'm business mode. Still didn't stand a chance. This is a fun boss fight. One of the easier boss fights once you know what to do. So you can actually watch the puddle and see her footprints in the water. And if you're really good, you can actually get some hits on her while she's invisible. But what I tend to do is I tend to run around and either bait her out a single attack, and then run up and punish with sword swings, or bait out that unblockable, and then cancel it with a pistol. Like her phase 1 is pretty straightforward because of that. And for a while her phase 2 was pretty scary, because what could happen is that she has this sort of trap where she'll go for an unblockable and you go to counter it, but then she'll follow up with another unblockable and eat your counter and kill you. But I learned a strat to avoid all that, which is, funnily enough, if you just run away and shoot her after she swings on you, it does a ton of damage if you do it right, and then there's no risk. So it's incredibly consistent. I'm sure speedrunners will find a better strat, but as far as survival, the strat is really good. Because she doesn't seem to, at least from what I can tell, she doesn't seem to do her unblockable trap. Which, even if you know about it, is kind of scary because sometimes she can lock you into a corner with it and stuff.
These guys are all over the place.
I love this level. This is probably my favorite level of the game. But it has some checkpoints from hell. But one thing I really loved about the level, I remember when I first played the game, I was a little annoyed with the HQ sections. They're not so bad because you can quite easily skip through them very quickly, especially for a modern game. You just run to the, next mission or whatever. So they're very optional and that kind of thing. But, I still found it annoying. But one thing I really love, I don't know where exactly this love comes from, what game it comes from, but I really love, I think it was Mario 64 was probably the game that it comes from, but I really love when games take their hub worlds and turn them into stages. I'm a sucker for that. Every time that happens, I'm always hyped about it. I don't know why. I think it's because it like breaks down that illusion of safety that most hub worlds have, right? Like you're playing even something like Resident Evil 4 or Resident Evil 2 or a Resident Evil game, and there's the save room. Or Super Metroid, there's the save room, right? So there's all this danger, you're terrified, there's all this wild bullshit going on around you, but you can go into the save room and feel nice, safe, and secure. And I always thought it would be cool if Super Metroid had a boss like in a save room or some shit happens in a save room. And then I remember in Mario 64 really wanting, there was like this, you remember how many grade school rumors there were for Mario 64? Well, one of them that I heard was that there's a fourth Bowser, and the fourth Bowser is like Giga Bowser or whatever, and you fight him in the courtyard of the hub world, right? So you go down to that like staircase courtyard area and you fight him in there. That doesn't actually happen, but I really wanted that to happen. And so for me, getting back to Wanted Dead, for me, having the hub world stage be an actual stage you play in, I really like that a lot. And I don't know, I think probably part of it is budget thing. They're like, okay, we need a stage. Well, we built this hub world, let's use it as a stage. But I think it's really effective and really well done. Death, this is the checkpoint of death. That's a death trap right there. So when you first come in, first thing you do is you need to shoot that guy right behind that concrete barrier right away, because he has a grenade launcher and he'll one-shot you instantly. So the first time you play this level, you're gonna get owned because you're gonna come in, you're gonna do the checkpoint, you're gonna walk 5 feet, and a guy's gonna grenade you in the face immediately. This is the checkpoint of hell. I know for sure this must be the checkpoint that like all the gaming reviews were like, the checkpoints are shitty, the checkpoints are too long, the checkpoints are nasty. It must be this checkpoint, because this checkpoint is grueling. It is, well, stage 5 has a lot of grueling checkpoints too, but this one is, I call it the checkpoint of hell. Because one, okay, you walk through, you get one-shotted by a dude with a grenade launcher, okay, so you have to know how to deal with him. And then next thing you do, you gotta fight one of those aggressive super ninjas. And when you're first playing the game, those aggressive super ninjas have lots of mix-ups and attacks, and they can one-shot you too, by the way, because they can actually break your guard. So like just sitting there holding guard doesn't totally work. Oh, okay, I want to point out this routing option. So you come down the stairs, have your fire grenade ready, because there's a bunch of these Raiden guys. Raiden as in Metal Gear Solid. You can run down the stairs. Hey, you're that ninja. You can run down the stairs and throw. They come out of that room. So you run down the stairs and you throw the fire grenade right at the entrance of the room. And they're just jammed in there. And then, yeah, so then you can fight the other guys with guns, take them out. And by the time the flames expire, then you're ready to fight them. You know, so you can, again, using the fire grenades, not as an offensive weapon, but like a defensive wall to control enemies and control what they do and where they spawn. It's really cool. So that's a technique I figured out, because otherwise this section is pure madness, because not only do you have a bunch of dudes running around with swords bum rushing you, but you also then have a bunch of dudes with machine guns and shotguns shooting at you while you're trying to deal with the dudes with swords. It's a really tough and dangerous enemy combination, and so being able to hold off the cavalry charge is really good. So here's another section where they get you to use your gun in like some third-person shooter style combat. You notice how I almost never use cover. There's a few situations where I use cover in the game, but I feel like the game's cover system is perfectly fine. But the problem with it is that just Stone's movement and routing is just better than cover, right? So just moving, it tends to be better than using cover, because you can move in and out of positions so quickly and cleanly that rather than sitting behind cover and getting grenaded, what you do is you just move in and out of positions. It works better. Though there are some situations where you do use cover, and later in the stage we'll see those. So the cover system still has a purpose, but again, if you try to play this game like Gears of War, you're going to get owned. Like, that's not how the game plays. And that's not, because if you're trying to play it as Gears of War, 1, you're going to run out of ammo really quickly. 2, you're going to get grenaded a bunch. 3, like, the weapon accuracy isn't super good. The most accurate weapon in the game is if you have your upgraded main assault rifle, which I recommend you upgrade for accuracy, because accuracy turns out to be really useful and important. Okay, check this out. So, this strat I'm quite proud of. So that door opens, that you throw a bunch of grenades to take out the shield guys, and then you come back here. You're supposed to use this chainsaw on the sword guys from the room, but instead you save the chainsaw and you use it on this bitch. And also make sure to lure him towards you, but again, don't just run at him with the chainsaw. You want to like lure him into that corner or lure him somewhere where he can't get his attack out before you. And yeah, there you go. You deal with him very cleanly and easily. What was once a scary section, now under control. There's always guys that love to hide back there. A clean grenade gets them. One thing too is that you could say that, well, one remaining challenge is that I could play Japanese hard mode, but not on New Game Plus, not with the upgrade. But I personally feel like the game wouldn't be that much harder under those conditions. It would just make the first 3 stages more slow and tedious. So I feel like playing the game New Game Plus Japanese hard mode, I just think that is the definitive best way to play. So that's how I'll always play, even if it is slightly more challenging to play without the New Game Plus. I just feel like the game's pace suffers from it, you know. And I always feel like with character action games and action games generally, like the full weapon New Game Plus mode is the true mode of the game for the most part. Like some of the games like Ninja Gaiden are a little better about it, but for the most part I think it's kind of arbitrary and stupid that you have to play through the game one time with like no moves or like reduced moves and reduced options, and then play through it again to actually play the game and experience it fully. But you know, that's just a convention. And the nice thing about Wanted Dead is at least it's just a 2-hour run rather than like Devil May Cry and all that, where it's a 5 or 6 hour run, something like that, if you're not speedrunning. So we have almost reached the end of the checkpoint of hell, but there's this last section here with these dudes in the back corner, and they're quite aggressive, so don't underestimate them. But I'm playing super well. This is a really, really good stage 4 for me. No hiccups, no issues. And I think, you know, the thing about my run here is that it's going to give a false sense of security, perhaps, because I've routed the game so heavily that it's not apparent how quickly and wildly things can snowball. So let's talk about this attack here. So you have this sort of like super that you can build up. And when I first started playing, I thought this is the most useless bullshit ever because it doesn't really do that much damage necessarily. And so I thought, okay, this is kind of a, I mean, it's nice to have or whatever, but it's kind of a useless super. But then I realized, oh, it's actually really good for a number of things. It's just it wasn't apparent to me. So the first thing it's really good for is if you have crowds of enemies, even though it won't damage them that much, it will put them all into a kill state mode. So if you have a group of like sword guys and stuff, if they're weakened enough, you can just take them out with a follow-up sword kill string. Another thing too is on heavier enemies like the white guys with the swords, the white Raidens with the swords, what you can do there is you can get them into stun, and then actually instead of swinging on them with your sword, you can just pull out your machine gun and headshot them while they're in stun. So that does a ton of damage too. And then the third thing you can use it for is if you're in a nasty situation, especially on the sword guys, the riding guys, because they actually do have mix-ups on their attacks where sometimes they'll end their string with a strike, and then sometimes they'll end their string with like an unblockable thing. And so if you try to block it, you're going to get owned. And then if you try to pistol it, but you're pistoling the regular sword strike, you're going to get owned by that. And that comes up later in the run. So you actually kind of have to react to what their string is doing at the end to some degree. But a nice escape for that is you just have that super locked and loaded. And so when they get to the third strike of their string, you just fire it off because it's invulnerable. So you can also use it defensively, which I didn't consider before. Okay. So I've hard routed this, grenaded the first room, pushes them into this room, and then you blow their heads off like fish in a barrel. This next area is very difficult when you're first playing. Lots of death traps. First little trick here is to snipe the dudes with the shields. You don't necessarily even have to kill them. You just need to snipe them to get them to drop their shields, because shield enemies in this game are actually really, really dangerous. Because, one, if they're coming at you, it's actually really hard to get around their shields if they're facing you. You can shoot at their foot, but it takes like an entire clip to get them to drop their shields shooting them in the foot. And also, they are impervious to melee attacks. You have to hit them with a melee attack and then force them to counter and then parry the counter. And they also are really aggressive with their guns. So what can also happen is you run up, you hit them to try and get them to attack you with the shield to counter. But instead of doing that, they just shoot you with the machine gun point blank and like take half your health bar. So the shield guys, it's almost always to route around them and to get them with something that's not like a straight on attack. Either shooting them from the back or throwing a grenade at them and blowing them up that way. But like a straight on assault of them is actually quite risky. So that was perfectly routed, except my timing was off there. I did that too early. I had too much ants defense. But if you do that, but wait 3 more seconds, basically, what's fun is you use your charge attack, and then they land, and then you just kill all 3 of them with your charge attack. But I missed time. It turned out okay. So this guy here, we don't want to go down the stairs yet, because there's guys who will one-shot you with grenade launchers. So again, this first time you play this section, you're gonna die because you're not gonna know about that. You're gonna walk down the stairs and get one shot and killed instantly. There they are. So what you have to do is they can't get their grenades up the stairs though. So what you have to do is you kind of have to fight them from the top of the staircase. Again, using the terrain of the level to your advantage. The high ground, you have the high ground on them. Because if you go down there at their level, it is possible, but it is highly risky because they can just one-shot you with a grenade. And they're very fast. And they can fire from like across the screen too. They have long-range grenade launchers. It's not like super close. So the grenade launcher enemies are some of the scariest enemies in the game, especially on Japanese hard mode, obviously. So here's the shield guys again. I'm not necessarily trying to kill them. I'm just trying to shoot them to get them to drop their shield. That was a really nicely placed grenade. Grenade throwing in this game is really important as far as knowing when and where to throw them, like routing your grenades when you need them. Very important. And then also actually like understanding the physics of like grenade bounces and stuff, because if it's not like Halo, like where you throw a grenade and it like sticks on a dude. You need to actually account for where the grenade's gonna land, what's it gonna bounce off of, is it gonna bounce back, is it gonna bounce somewhere stupid. So what I do, I feel like this is a technique from literal baseball, is rather than just throwing the grenade right at my target, I try to throw it ahead of their feet and like bounce it towards their feet so that it bounces into them, which is more reliable. So it's super tempting to pick up the grenade launcher in this section, but I recommend not doing it because you want to have your machine gun for the boss. So holding onto the machine gun is the way to go. Even though this bit here is easier with the grenade launcher, just fight them without it, because you're going to want to use that machine gun on the boss to make the boss fight really, really, really stable. So here we go. Using my super in action. That was really clean stage 4. That was a really good stage 4. And so here we go. My patented boss fight technique. So I'm really excited to show this off. Okay, so here's the strategy. Remember I talked about how good the fire grenades are? This boss is actually pretty scary in Japanese hard mode until you discover this strat, which is you throw down the fire grenade to create a wall of defense you shall not pass. And then the AI is smart enough to know, okay, we can't pass through this without getting damaged, so I'm going to hang back here. And then, so he's kind of like just, oh, I almost die here, though. That was terrifying. I almost ended my run. See, that's an example of how quickly a run can end. Because I forgot the fire was there, so I ran into it, got stunned by the fire, and he hit me. And had I not rolled right at the right moment, he would have killed me. And that would have been it. After all that sick gameplay, I die running into my own grenade, essentially. But luckily, I was able to mitigate that. But yeah, so you get him on the other side of it, and just headshot him. He can't do nothing about it. He knows that's some really nasty AI manipulation, but it's really good. And it's quite satisfying. So that is, ironically, one of the easiest bosses in the game. Stage 4 boss. Stage 5 boss is not that case. I lost 3 or 4 no death runs to the boss of stage 5. So stage 5 boss is terrifying. But stage 4 boss is one of the easiest. So here we go into stage 5. It's actually, to be honest, it's more like stage 5 and 6. This is 2 stages put together. Because if you're looking at the run count, right? Or the time, right? Stage 5 is half an hour long. Basically, it is such a huge stage. It is essentially 2 stages. So I'm gonna break this up into 2 distinct stages, stage 5 and stage 6, even though I think they're technically the same stage. It's like Ketsui, where Ketsui's stage 5 is like 2 stages sandwiched together. That's definitely stage 5 in Wanted Dead. Yet again, using walls of flame. It's kind of funny. This back alley section is a lot of fun. This is a really fun section of the game. Every time I get to this section of the game, I always have a smile on my face because it's a little bit less stressful than the second half of the stage, which is terrifying. But it's really fun because you get a nice mix of enemies. You get to, there's more ammo drops, so you get to really let your guns fly. And there's all kinds of fun bullshit you can do with fire grenades in terms of like creating perimeters, and you do have a revive from your team as well, so even if you do get clipped by something, you at least have a second chance. So yeah, this section's really fun. I don't think I've ever died to it outside of like when I was first playing it. It's arguable that maybe it's a slightly too easy, but I also feel like it's a nice little ramp up. It's like kind of prepping you though for what's coming next, like with the enemy types and the stage layout, because the second half of this stage is brutal. So it's kind of leading you into that, giving you a false sense of security maybe. And it is fun, so. Alrighty, so this section here, I always get confused about this section, but gunplay is really, then once they take cover, rush them. Like, look how fast Stone can run. She can move. Right there. Oh, I want to point this out. So one issue with your dash attack is the dash attack's awesome because it can knock people down and stuff. But if they're crouching, it will actually whiff. And then also sometimes when you go to do a dash attack, the enemy, like the tracking on it is really linear. To use like a Tekken term, it's really linear. So the enemies can like sidestep you sometimes, or like run out of the way. And so then you just fly past them and then they're shooting you and stuff. So a really, really reliable way to deal with enemies behind cover is to run up, and instead of attacking them with your sword, you run up, run to the other side of the cover, and then you shoot them with the pistol and then cancel the pistol into the sword flurry and get the initial hit that way. So you'll see me do that a lot throughout the run. Is rather than trying to attack them with a dash attack, I'll attack them with the pistol. That I did dash attack. As I say it, I completely contradict myself. But for the most part, I don't really do that. I mostly go with the pistol. I was just really confident that guy wasn't going to move because he was like pinned into the corner, I think. Okay, so we're about to come to another death trap, which is this guy down at the end of the street. So this guy here, he's scary, take him out. But then there's also a guy right at the end of the street, this guy. You can easily overlook this guy. This guy has a rocket, this guy has a grenade launcher. If you let him fire that grenade launcher off, you're dead. He'll one-shot you. So it's pretty damn important to take him out from a distance, because like you can run at him and then hard react and try to cancel his grenade with the pistol. That's really risky. So sometimes I think it's a lot simpler and safer just to hang back and snipe him from a distance. Same thing with those guys here. The reason why I picked up the grenade launcher and firing it is because all those all those guys I was just shooting have grenade launchers and they'll one-shot you. So if you try to rush them, and there's multiple ones of them, so this is one of those situations where you literally cannot rush them. If you try to rush them, even if you cancel one guy's grenade, the other guy's going to hit you with his, and so you're going to get blown up. So you have to take them out from a distance and then come in. And then this guy here, keep your cool. This guy, for whatever reason, he feels like extra troll compared to his peers. So I'm always a little bit more careful with him. I'm not even sure why that is. Just his placement, I suppose. Okay, no health glitch yet. Okay, now blow up these containers, because they can sometimes get blown up by enemies or teammates throwing grenades or something. And if you're standing too near them, they'll kill you. Here's another death trap here. So you've got grenade launcher guys spawning here. They'll one-shot you with grenade launchers. And then if that's not enough, there's like literally some enemies standing on top that, unless you know they're there, they're going to one-shot you with a grenade before you even know where they were. The first time I played this stage, I just died without even knowing who shot me. So you have to take these guys out from a distance. You have to outrange their grenade launcher. Like once you know you're there, they're not too big of an issue. But if you don't, they're going to grenade launcher and kill you. And then here we go. Now we're going to fight a bunch of ride-ins. Oh, this section gets really out of hand. Okay, so this is some example of some bad routing, because my routing gets messed up. So this is not how it's supposed to happen. What's about to happen. And that's why. Because that motherfucker... That's what I was talking about. Remember I was talking about this? Remember I was talking about it, where he has mix-ups on his attack. Where what I was doing was, I think I was parrying, because I thought he was going to do a regular sword swing. But instead he does that unblockable, and it's outside my parry window, and then he just one-shot. I mean, that's an example. And then that totally threw off my entire routing, because then I respawned and I was kind of confused and kind of like a little antsy. So I throw all these fire grenades and I'm playing like kind of scared. And so I'm using all these resources up. And then I forget that, oh shit, I actually need these for a section coming up. So while it doesn't look so bad here, like it doesn't look so bad, it ends up being a catastrophic because I used up all my grenades, which I really, really need for a section coming up right here. And I barely... This is the most ugly part of the run we're about to watch here. Because I barely get out of it. I barely survive. And part of it was just... I wouldn't say luck, but it's some of it was just really clutch reactions. But not in like a, oh, I'm so good sort of way, but in like a, dear God, this has gotten out of hand. I'm playing so shitty, but managing to barely hang on. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you watch a Street Fighter or Tekken match, and you do win the match, but you dropped like 7 combos in the process. That's what this upcoming section is going to look like. I do escape, but it's ugly. So first of all, I'm supposed to have my fire grenades so that I can set up a perimeter against these sword guys, and then I can focus on the grenade guy, because if that grenade guy hits me straight on, run over. He'll one-shot me. And I'm already, and I don't have a revive anymore, because remember I got stabbed earlier, so I can't, if he hits me, there's no revive. And meanwhile, I have no way to ward off all these sword guys who are bum rushing me. Like that guy, oh, that was so clutch. So clutch, because I didn't even know where he was. But he hit me once and I just parried the second hit. Thank God that worked. And then there's a guy with a grenade launcher. And I can't quite get him. This motherfucker is being so sneaky. Where he's like running around, hiding behind things. And every time I think I got the pin on him, dude with the sword comes up and stabs me. Then I'm fighting the guy with the sword. But then I'm like terrified because I'm afraid a grenade will come out of nowhere. I barely run around and dodge enough to get through that section. But that was ugly, but ugly. What you're supposed to do, which I really wish I was able to show off in this run, is you're supposed to set up this really cool like wall of fire. And then make kind of like a pathway for them to run through, and then you just gun them down as they go down the pathway. Like imagine like the Red Seas in the Bible, except instead of crossing the Red Seas, Moses sits on the other side with a machine gun and guns down the Egyptians. Like that's kind of the strat. It's a really fun strat, but unfortunately I used up all my grenades, so I couldn't do it. This bit here is really troll because there's a guy with a machine gun that's really aggressive, but he's protected by the big suit guy. And the suit guy is scary. See, I heal there. Is really scary in this section because it's so close quarters, and he kind of fucks up the camera a lot. Like he'll do this heavy swing, and when you're blocking it, he'll push you into the wall, and the camera will like swing with you. And so the camera's just like looking at the wall as he's attacking you. So then you have to react and get the camera back on place. But this is actually a surprisingly really easy checkpoint, because other than fighting that guy and then fighting this guy, and this technique is really easy. You just set up a wall of flame, he can't get through it, then you just machine gun him. No problem. One of the easier white ride-in fights. And it goes right into a nice checkpoint. So that was like it's really funny because that's a much more lenient checkpoint than a lot of other ones. A lot of other ones, they go on forever and ever and ever. Especially later ones that are about to come up. So this is kind of ugly and embarrassing to watch back because I accidentally bounced the flame grenade onto my own path, and so I was stuck under there. You're gonna want to take this guy out. There we go. And then there's a guy with the shield. Snipe him. Perfect. So far, so good. Then we come into this section here. I think I do really well. So this area is a real dogfight. See, I know where they spawn, so I just drop a fire grenade on them right as they spawn. So this area is a real dogfight because there's a high-level ninja, but then there's also these machine gun guys running around. And so it's kind of scary because while you're like, okay, because enemy combinations in this game can be terrifying rather than just fighting them individually, right? For example, the machine gun guys themselves are not that threatening overall, but while you're trying to fight them, this ninja guy can at any moment just flip kick you and kill you. You know, he can just run up behind you, do his flipping swing attack, and kill you. So you're always having to keep your eye out for this bastard. You can't just focus on the machine gun guys. But if you say, you know, screw the machine gun guys, I'll just focus on the ninja, well then the machine gun guys can cause you a lot of health too, because they can just tee off on you and shoot you. So you kind of have to route it out to try to take out the machine gun guys early, which I did, and then have a nice clear fight with the ninja guy. So another street fight area. This one is much easier than the other one because it doesn't have grenade launcher guys. But I think the idea of this area here is just to wear you down, because we're coming into like essentially the boss fight of stage 5, or you could say like the mid boss of stage 5, the double ninja. So yeah, I'm not really too worried about it though, because I'm really good at the ninja fight, and also I don't really use guns on them very much, so nothing too scary here. Nothing too scary. You just want to save your resource. It's all about resource management, not getting too much taken off, not losing too much health, because health is going to be really important in the double ninja fight. Because like I said, even if you take like one slice of damage, you probably need to heal yourself, because they can if they hit you, they can just kill you in one hit if you're not fully healed. So you have to be pretty much fully healed at all times, if possible. Oh yeah. So with the white riding guys, they have this sort of rolling move. And when you first fight them, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, not a big deal. But then they have like this sword swing out of the rolling move, kind of like you do, and it does so much damage. So like when they roll at you, hold block, because they can, if you take for granted that the roll's just defensive and he hits you with that, it can kill you. Here's some more routing using the environment, tunneling them in there. Flame, this is perfect. If you can get them in a pincer like this is perfect. Like, okay, it's hard to describe, but okay, with the sword guys, it's actually better not to directly hit them with the flame grenade. Instead, if you can really, because they'll get damaged, but then they'll kind of like wiggle out of it. Their AI will kind of wiggle out of it. But what you can do that's really nasty is you can kind of pincer them, where I did it here, where you get them up against the wall, then you throw the grenade, but you leave a little bit of room between the wall and the grenade. And so what's happening is that they just get bounced in and out of that space over and over. Because if it's just pure flame, they'll wiggle out of the pure flame. But if you keep it where there's a little bit of a dry, non-flame area, but they're stuck up against a wall, then they'll just bounce in and out of the flame over and over. Beautiful. That'll happen to you as well, by the way. So it's not enemy exclusive. If you get hit against the wall with a flame grenade from an enemy, like in stage 2, that can happen to you as well, so you gotta be real careful. Okay, this is Ultra Troll. There's a guy up in the top left corner here with a grenade launcher. He'll one-shot you, and if you don't know he's there, which you don't really know the first time you play through, you're just gonna be walking down this alley and get hit with a grenade. And you have no idea why, that sneaky bastard. So I always make a mental note, okay, we gotta kill this guy. Like I said, a lot of hard memo happening here. Notice here, I always try to end my kills with a guard cancel, because even though they're dead, it's a really good habit to have, because it's gonna make like fighting people in groups and fighting large groups of enemies a lot more safe. There we go. Slice, slice. I think I start going around the back. Yeah, like, see, you can go around the back of them. It's kind of tricky at times, but you can get that few extra shot in. Then you notice there, rather than playing the stand there and wait for you to attack parry game, I got him in block stun, and then I just rolled away and just lit him up with a machine gun. I don't do that against the white guys as much typically, because I'm trying to save my ammo for later in the checkpoint, but in this case, we're getting near the end here. It's fine. Let's fire it up. This section here, which I always confuse with another section, but all you have to do is just snipe them from across the room, and then you go into the double ninja here. So I'm out of ammo, so I gotta bum rush him. See, there I went in with he was crouching, so I went in and pistoled him. Double ninja time. So the name of the game with the double ninja is you want to get one of the ninjas kind of pinned up against your allies. They're not going to really damage it all that much, but they're going to distract it while you fight the other ninja. And at times it will target onto you, and if that's the case, you have to just run around, run away until it targets onto your allies, because fighting two ninjas at once is way too risky. I would have lit him up with a machine gun, but I'm really low on ammo. Try to keep track of which ninja you're fighting to. That way you can kill one much earlier than the other. Here we go. He's got to be close to that. That move there. If he gets you with both sword swings, it like chip damages you or some shit. It's crazy. You gotta parry those or dodge roll them. I did neither. See, right here. So he's in block stun. Keep it going. Use the super. Keep the offense going. Parry, parry, parry. Perfect. That was really good. Alrighty, now we're in the final half. Stage 6. We've entered stage 6. Just a hard memo, get them coming through the door. Another death trap coming up at the top of the stairs. This guy will turn the corner. This is terrifying. Turn the corner and one-shot you with the grenade launcher. I pull out the grenade launcher. You have to be really... That's exactly what I was saying. My ally walked in front of me, so I fired the grenade. Luckily, he was far enough where the grenade didn't blow up immediately in my face, because that could have potentially killed me. But, yeah. You got to be careful about that in this section here. You also have to be careful about the grenade clipping onto the cover, because it can do that as well. This section is real scary. This is the claustrophobic. This is called the Hallway of Hell, like in Dodonpachi. The reason why it's called the Hallway of Hell is not only will you have to fight the sword guys in these close quarter areas, which basically demands that you parry their attacks, but the scary part is the camera, because it's so close in, and you're so up against the wall that like they can screw up, like they can attack you and push the camera away, and so you're like staring at a wall, and then you can't see their next swing, and you can't see, okay, is it gonna be a unblockable, or is it gonna be a regular strike? And if you guess wrong, you're screwed. Though you actually don't need to be able to see necessarily, because if it's an unblockable, you can hear it. But still, pretty scary. Yep, let him walk down, fire off. I feel like this ninja has some extra health. I just feel that way, because look how much it takes to kill this guy. I think he does have some extra health. He's like kind of like a mini boss, because it's just the fight goes on and on and on, and I'm destroying him. I really know these ninja fights at this point, but so you notice me slipping behind the back of his guard there. Oh, you gotta be real careful. Right there. If I was not full health, if I was half health, he would have killed me. Even though I knew the attack, just because of how quick you have to react to some of the stuff. Okay, I just activated the glitch. And I remember activating and going, oh, balls. So I just activated the no health glitch. So I cannot pick, because I went to pick up that health item and then accidentally like ran into the table and canceled the animation. So now I can't pick up health items. And that's really going to be a problem by the end of this checkpoint, let me tell you. And also this bit here goes terribly wrong. So what I'm supposed to do is throw these grenades, and these guys are supposed to come out and get blown up, and then I fight the guy with the machine gun. Or I fight the suit guy. But the guy with the machine gun gets hit with the grenade and then like flies in front of the guy with the, you know, the heavy armor guy. And so then the heavy armor guy, as I'm attacking the wrong enemy, he gets like this massive hit and almost kills me. There's no revives, by the way, at this point forward. So in stage 5, the first part of stage 5, You have a revive, but now it's just you and your buddy. There's no revive. You got to do this all without going down. And then also, I can't pick up health items. I can't pick up health packs because of the glitch. Dear God. Okay, so catch them coming in. This is scary because these guys can really melt your health, and I need to make these health packs last because I literally can't pick up anymore. Freaking shield guy. Threw the grenade, missed. I do not want to tangle with this bitch. Okay, then I throw another grenade into the wall, into a wall. Look how much damage. Look at the damage. Like, they are sharpshooters. Take him out. Okay. Careful routing here. There's going to be another shield guy. This time I want to hit him properly with the grenade, which I do. But then his shield's hanging out there, and for a minute I'm like, wait, is his shield still there? It is. He's dead, but the shield's stuck into the wall. Oh, he's not dead, but he dropped his shield. There we go. He gets a few sucker shots in. The weird thing is like when they have their shield on, they're like sharpshooters. Then when they lose their shield, they're kind of like regular. It's weird. Get these guys behind cover. Every time this guy trolls me, every time. He's supposed to be there, but sometimes he's not there. And so he like hides in the corner and ambushes me. Even though I kind of figure, I kind of know where he is. Like, no, where the hell is this guy, right? He's not there. He must be inside the other building. Boom! The motherfucker. That's like a survival horror enemy placement. I don't even know how he got over there. Oh, that was close. The reason why it missed is because that was like super late pistol. Like as late as you can get and still get away with it. Oh boy, now it's getting scary. I've only have 2 health pickups and I've got a lot of enemies to get through. So I'm like, you know what? Let's cheese this motherfucker. We need to get cheesy right now. We're desperate. So I go up, I use this area. What's funny is you see me blocking. It's because I've done this strat before. But if you stand right on the edge there, he can actually still clip you with his sword. So I kind of try to run away and then I hold block just to make sure he doesn't clip me with his sword. There we go. He's down. Pretty clever stuff. Here comes another one. Firewall. Machine gun. Like normally I'd be doing really well, but because of the glitch, you know, I can't make any mistakes. A really well placed fire grenade there. Now this bit is really troll because there's a shield guy on the staircase, and so you can throw a fire grenade and take him out that way, but you want to save your fire grenades for upcoming area. But you can't really hit him very easily with regular grenades because they'll bounce down or they'll roll down the stairs. Here we go, the final section. So now I've got to fight 3 waves, I believe, of Raidens, a brown and a white. And they are hell of aggressive, and I can't pick up health items. I need to stress that very clearly. Like, I just missed that single sword strike, so now I need to fully heal. Otherwise, any sword strike will kill me. Then I don't want them to team up with me, so I gotta run over here. But I can't run all the way out of the alley, because then I'm gonna get sniped and shot at from the guys up top. I take a massive hit there. No health items now. No health items. And I can never get health items until the end of the stage, which is the end of the game. So no more health items ever. So here it is. I'm trying to pick it up. I can't. Cannot be picked up because of the health glitch. So I gotta fight these guys just straight up. And at this amount of health, 1 hit could potentially kill me. So I am terrified. I am so nervous, and I play so carefully. This is upcoming is me playing as carefully as possible. I go for the super, and like something goes wrong with the super, probably because I was standing on that goddamn health item and it glitched out the super or something. So the super didn't work. Luckily, my teammate took out the brown guy, so now I take out him. But it's still scary because he does have mix-up on his string, And if I make one mistake on his strings, it's over. I've come this far just to end at the final screen of stage before the boss. And I make a really, really clutch block. I'll show you here. It's not this guy, it's the next guy. So here we go, the next guy. There's one more wave of these bitches. Look how I like backed way up to make sure the super would work. Okay, so now I just need to fight the white guy. Now, I've actually lost a run on this section before. And one reason why I lost the run last time, the time before, on this section was because I was trying to play really carefully against the white guy, like running away. But the guy will like hunt you down and slash at your back if you try to run away. It's kind of risky to run away. So it's actually less risky to just fight him head on. But it's also scary because now you have to like react to his attacks and strings and stuff. And I remember I had the most clutch parry because he goes for the 1, 2, 3 rather than the 1, 2 pistol. And my hand, by sheer nervousness and instinct, moved over to do the pistol. And then at the last second, I pulled my hand back and hit the block parry button to catch his third strike. But it was just barely in time. Barely. So super clutch. These guys almost killed me. I was about to say, if I die to the guys hiding in this last room, I'm going to be pissed. Alrighty, we're getting close now. Now we're fighting the double tanks. This boss fight is really easy and kind of tedious. So you know what? Let's skip it. Let's skip it because it's just me running around, picking up grenade launchers, and really not too much to say. It's like an easier version of the stage 1 boss, really. The only bit of advice I can give is like, don't run under their leg. Like, the main thing you need to watch out for is them running over you, rather than them hitting you with stuff. As long as you're running around, they usually won't hit you with things, but they can run you over, literally. So just watch out for that. But we're gonna skip forward. Let's get out of this BS. All right, here we go. Final boss. I've lost 3 or 4 runs to this point. My hands are sweating. This is not a guaranteed win here. So I would actually practice this boss over and over and over. So I know him really well. So phase 1, I'm not too nervous, other than just me being stupid. But I've been practicing, and I'm feeling somewhat confident. But you want to have stage 1 be as clean as possible, because you might need to do some heavy damage management in phase 2. So you don't want to take hits or anything in phase 1. Beautiful, beautiful parry. So the way it works is, the trick to phase 1, and why phase 1 isn't that scary, is because he cannot grab you in phase 1. So you don't need to worry about getting grabbed. So you can kind of abuse block in phase 1 quite a bit. But you mix in block and roll away. So he'll do that combo. You do 1, 2, you do parry, parry, roll away. And that option selects whatever his follow-up is. And he has 2 follow-ups. One follow-up is the flurry, where you see there, which is kind of like unparryable. So it's like a parry trap, where if you're sitting there trying to parry, he'll hit you with a flurry. Then the other one is he'll do like a pistol. So then if you try to parry, he might, or if you try to whatever, run away or whatever, he might hit you with the pistol, or might hit you with a pistol cancelable attack. But rolling away option selects. But anyway, let's talk about the final phase here. So what I am doing is I'm going back to using single slice and then canceling the single slice, because all I am doing, I have all the strings memorized, but what's terrifying is he has this grab mix-up. And so what I'm doing is, after every slice, I am watching this guy's head. I am glued onto this guy's head, because what happens is, before he does the grab, which is instant death, and it's fast. This is why I lost 3 runs before. What's crazy is that in this run, he never does it. Not to spoil it, but he never does it. I catch him without it. Right there, I thought he was going to grab. For sure. I was like, my hand was like, oh, but then he healed. But anyway, I feel like even if he did go for the grab, though, I was prepared. I was ready. Because I've had 3 runs lose to this guy. 3. Which is, each run is 2 hours long. So, yeah. Brutal. I've had a lot of runs end in stage 5, but I've had 3 end on the last boss. And for different reasons. The first one was because I wasn't prepared for the grab. So he just grabbed me and killed me. So I was like, fuck. Okay. So then the second time I get there, going all the way back, and I feel like, okay, I'm prepared for the grab or whatever, but then I accidentally do a dash attack to punish him. So he's like attacking me, and he's going to heal, right? Remember his heal? So he's going to heal or something like that. And so I run and I accidentally dash attack, and then he blocks the dash attack. And while I'm in the dash attack recovery animation, he grabs me and kills me. And so I was like, fuck. So that was 2. And then number 3 was, I was like, okay, I'm sick of getting grabbed. I am going to create this strat where I like attack him and then roll away and use that as like a strat on him. And I didn't get grabbed, but as I was rolling away, he caught me with a slice. He caught me with like this big slice and then death comboed me, because it turns out if he hits you while your back is turned, he'll death combo you because you're in stun. You can't do anything. You can't parry. You can't roll. You can't do anything. So if he catches you with your back turned, he'll death combo you. So then I die there. So then I found out, okay, the only way to really beat this guy consistently, at least so far for me, was to just attack him head on and just watch his head. Because before he does the death grab, if you're watching for the flash, it's way too risky, I think. But he has they put this in, this is smart game design, as a tell. He'll do this sort of head roll before the flash appears. So do a head roll, flash, grab, kill. And so what you're doing is, as you're swinging on him, you're just watching his head. Like, if you head roll, I've got my counter ready to go. But he didn't head roll, so that's kind of lucky, but I feel like I was prepared. Thanks so much. Adios, everyone.
So thank you to the $5 patrons, 100, accepting Panda, Admiral Coconut, Anhold, Alexander Pfeiffer, Dingo, Anthony A, Arcade Hell, Arrow Viper, Beam Pit, Bo, Ben, Beetle Dames, Bog Hog, Borgie22, Brian Shiver, Brian Romano, Chase Palumbo, Chattel Maltese, Chris Yusufovich, Chronic Burnout 3, Clara Cliff, Climby Coyote, Coast, Colorboy, Cooksan666, Cook Some Soup, Corey Mark, That's Audio, Dan Chi, Darren Griffin, Dave Hansen, David Crespo, Delta Tango 6, Disco Star Slaya, DJ420 Praise It, Elias Alonso, Evan Serafit, FCK, Frames Per Human, Francisco, Full Set, Retro Schmupper, GPM, Hausu, Jake Ryan, JLab, JBRPG, John Kelly, George Sand, Gameboy Guru, K, K2, Contain, Praise the Boys, K-Horse, Low Casting, Malaise, Matt O'Leary, Maz, Megadeth 859, Minung, Michael McCord, Mitch LY, Queen Charlene, Nathaniel Davis, Neon Dagger Games, Okla Googles, Oxidated, Pedro Isilis, Psycho Blizzard, Rattlecat, Raul, Rilskeen, Riff Mason, Rolf015, Scanline City, Seesaw FW, Shmup Junkie, Seropong, Steve Fiction, Street Magic, Superfunk, SW1335, Tamzarian, Takero Mucho, Taze Royu, The Boot Rex, The Dirty Screech, The N1, The Old Bensta, Tony Latundula, TRM, Toho Rizardi, Zugumo, 2YU, Twilight EX, Unicoi Roots, Ursula, Vic Viper, Beautiful, Lappy Legs, Utakaya, Zachary Patton, and Zeal.